Ruth, just give me the background to the publication.
So we've been doing a lot of work recently on bringing our collection out into the light, because we have an amazing selection of different things here, ranging from giant marble monuments to tiny Viking coins. And we realised that a lot of them are just kind of sitting in our safe, behind the scenes most of the time, and a lot of people don't know about half the things that we have here. So we thought it'd be a really nice chance to bring some of them out into the open and kind of share them with people. I put them into a publication, and we've got a little exhibition down in the crypt, and really just show people kind of some of the incredible things that we've collected here over 1,000 years of history.
Now, it was painstaking, I know. It involved many hours of commitment and many hours of hard work. Was it worth it all?
It was actually a really enjoyable project, I have to say. It didn't require a lot of research, because there's, a lot of things we know the history of them, and they're kind of very well researched and written about before. But then a lot of the things that are kind of behind the scenes have never been on display before or never kind of talked about. So we had to do a lot of research into those. But I had the help of Stuart Kinsella, our research advisor, and Roy Byrne, who is kind of a silver expert, but also an expert on all kinds of, ephemera and all the kind of stranger things that we've collected over the last 1,000 years. So it was an absolute pleasure. It was a lot of work, but a very enjoyable piece of work.
And during that essential piece of research, were you able to unearth some new and very interesting facts?
We were, especially about some of the archaeological finds. As you can imagine, every time we even plant a tree in Christ Church, we have to get kind of an archaeological survey done. So over the years, especially since the 19th century, there have been lots of archaeological digs here, and they've uncovered huge amounts of material that a lot of which has just been sitting down in our archive downstairs. But we brought some of those out and found out kind of a bit about them. In particular, a couple of my favourites. There's an early 18th century wig curler that was dug up in the 19th century, which dates probably back to when the forecourts were in the grounds of Christ Church. They used the old monastic buildings when the monks left. And a wig curler was dug up, and we think it was probably used for curling, lawyers' wigs kind of during the 18th century, because the forecourts were here from about 1608 until James Gandon's building was built, across the river. And it's just a little clay object, only a couple of centimetres long, but it just speaks volumes about kind of all the hundreds and thousands of people who have kind of passed through this building and its grounds kind of over the centuries.
Have you other favourite pieces?
Favourite pieces? Well, I really love the floor tiles, and I think a lot of our visitors, that's their favourite thing as well. So I'm standing at the moment on some of our medieval tiles, which date from the 13th century. And then we have throughout the cathedral 19th century copies of some of the medieval tiles. And it is, I think, I can say, one of the most beautiful floors in Ireland. It really is just, in terms of the range of patterns and colours, it's really, really kind of visually stunning. And again, we were able to do a bit more research into the history of the tiles, and I think that's one of the lovely kind of stories we've been able to bring out in the book.
Not forgetting the very impressive backdrop.
Yes.
That's just over your shoulder.
Yeah, these are beautiful as well. Yeah, these date from the 19th century and were put up kind of during the restoration of the cathedral in the 1870s. So yeah, we're coming down with tiles, and yeah, they're really, really beautiful.
Have you been able to put a number on the total of priceless treasures that are here in Christ Church?
I think it's hard to really put a number on. As I say, we've got a kind of 1,000 years worth of objects, and some of them are incredibly valuable in kind of monetary terms, but then others are just very valuable in terms of their history, and probably not worth much in kind of on the open market, but for us are an incredibly kind of important part of telling our story, and all the many different things that have happened in this cathedral over the years, from its beginnings as a Viking church, kind of right through the forecourts, the markets down in the crypt, the big restoration, and then to the present day. So they tell our story for us in an incredible way.
And the thousands of people who visit the cathedral are obviously mesmerised by what they see.
They are. We have about 230,000 visitors every year, and since we introduced kind of a new audio guide and the new book, what they call the dwell time has increased to over an hour. So I think for each visitor. So I think people are really, really enjoying kind of seeing more of what we have to offer.
You obviously love your job.
I do.
That's a given.
I do, yeah.
But was the production of treasures a labour of love, or was it a bit of a chore at times?
No, not at all, because I think it's something we wanted to do for a long time, and I've worked with Roy and Stuart for many years, so we're a good team together. And I think, Stuart is very good on, the architecture and the building, and then Roy is very good on the kind of more curious objects we have. So I think we kind of work together kind of as a good team, and it's been lovely to bring it together. And we had Tristan Hutchinson we worked with on the photos, and he did a beautiful job of photographing everything. So no, it was an absolute pleasure. It really was.
Over what period of time did this work take?
It took us about 2 years, I think, from kind of thinking up the idea to the final product. So yeah, it was a long old journey, but we got there in the end.
Now you've got another project in the pipeline, as they say.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing, in the run-up to the millennium, we are going to be doing a series of books. So this is the first of them, and our millennium is taking place in 2028. 2028. So in the run-up to the millennium, we're going to be publishing a series of books. So this is the first. The next one we're going to do on the tiles, we're going to do one on the stained glass, and we're going to do one on the monuments. So hopefully kind of covering all bases and, producing. We're really concentrating on producing kind of books that are really beautiful, have lots of really beautiful kind of images, really lovely photography that people can take home and have as a kind of souvenir of Christ Church and remember their visit.
What do you say to some people who would make the case, I guess, some of these treasures in Christ Church Cathedral ought to be in a national museum or some other form of museum, but not held here in a building like this?
Well, I really think there's something kind of special about showing objects in the place where they were made or where they were intended for, and it gives them that kind of sense of context and history. We have all the objects that we have, were kind of made specially for Christ Church or a part of the building, and I think it gives them that kind of frisson, that kind of interest to actually see them where they were intended to be. So, while I love going to museums as much as the next person, I think seeing things in situ really gives them a kind of special kind of energy, in a sense.
We've used the word priceless a few times during this chat. Are you happy with your security arrangements?
We are. Well, we learnt, as everyone knows, the heart of Lawrence O'Toole was stolen in 2012, which we very luckily got back, quite surprisingly, in 2018. I think we learnt a lot from that incident in terms of, making sure that our things are very well looked after. We were delighted to get the heart back, and it's now in a very secure, alarmed location in a chapel on the other side. So no, we look after our objects here extremely well.
It'd be easy for me to say that this is a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
It's the kind of glue pot, as it were. As soon as you land in Dublin, you must go and visit Christ Church Cathedral.
Yeah.
Have you seen numbers increase steadily? And how do you regard the role that the cathedral plays in the everyday life of Dublin City?
I mean, you're right in that, a large number of our visitors are kind of from overseas. 60% of our visitors are North American. But we do try really hard to engage with kind of local people, Dubliners as well. And for them to feel that it's their cathedral, that the objects in it are theirs. So as part of that, we run workshops kind of throughout the year, inspired by our collection, by the building. And they are pretty much exclusively attended by kind of local people of all ages. So we've done ones recently, Make Your Own Medieval Tile, which was a kind of family workshop, which was brilliant fun. We did a stained glass workshop where people got to make their own little kind of stained glass window. We did a calligraphy workshop. So we try and do things to kind of bring local people in, and so that they feel that, the collection and the building are theirs too. So it's kind of balancing those two things, giving a really lovely experience to people who are just coming to Dublin for a few days, but also kind of making it appeal to people who, might walk past the building every single day and not come in, and to give them a reason to come in. So the workshops are brilliant for that. We did a Christmas wreath making one, actually, which was brilliant fun. Yeah, we had kind of groups of people coming in together and kind of making a bit of a party of it, and it was great fun. So we try and balance the two. Yeah.
Ruth, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. It was a pleasure.